But I'm going to get into a very specific area of AVOD. So I want to talk with you this morning about the virtual linear opportunity. And even more focused than that, I want to talk about the virtual linear opportunity in smart TVs. That's really the focus. I know you've heard Laura and David talk a little bit about the AVOD opportunity, but that's where we're going to be focused for the next few minutes. So I know many of you remember the days when television was a very simple thing. All you had to do was plug in the power cord and attach your antenna cable. Well, that is probably going back a long way for some of you, but your cable to the back of your television, and boom, you were watching television. So it was a pretty simple deal. And somewhere along the way, it got pretty darn complicated. I don't know about you, but I have several devices under my main TV. And yes, it does look like that. Actually, it looks a lot worse than that behind my television. So somehow it got very complicated along the way. But you know, if you have purchased a smart TV in the last year or two, you may have noticed that things have gotten quite a bit simpler. Now, I recently got a new Vizio television, and the first thing that the Vizio television did, well, first of all I did was I plugged in the power, and the first thing it asked me to do was to connect to Wi-Fi, and it helped me. It found the most strongest signals next to me, and all I had to do was remember my password, and if I'd used WPS, I wouldn't have even had to enter the password. Once I had done that, I was immediately able to watch television. This is the free linear channels that are brought to me by the Vizio Smart TV interface. And as you can see, it looks just like television. And you know, you can cruise around here. There are familiar names like CNN, there's NBC News, many TVs also have Fox News. There are just a bunch of familiar channels that people can find in these interfaces. And as you can see, works just like television. Quality is great and really works great. So I put it to you that if you have a smart TV, there simply is no simpler way of watching television than using these free smart channels, so these free virtual linear channels in smart TVs. And pretty much all of the major smart TVs have them now. So that's the opportunity I want to talk about this morning. So what I'm going to give you an idea about is, what's the market look like? And in particular, I want you to have in mind the new next gen TV, or ATSC 3.0. And I'm sort of going to be comparing the situation to that and to traditional over-the-air television to try and give you an idea so that you can gauge the opportunity. Okay, so let's talk about homes passed. Homes passed is something that we talk about a lot when we're talking about pay television, particularly cable TV. This is the number of people that can get, quote, cable. So in this case, I'm just looking at the number of homes with a smart TV and connected TV, not one that they're connected and are actually using, but just the number that have them. And so according to Lightman Research, they say about 80% of TV homes now have some sort of smart TV or connected TV device. What does that translate to? Well, there are 121 million TV homes according to Nielsen. So that tells us we have about 96 million homes in the US today that are smart TV enabled or connected TV enabled. Okay, so what's the actual market look like? How many people have gone to the trouble of actually connecting these darn things? Well, 58%, it says Leichman. And look at the growth, pretty extraordinary growth over the last couple of years. It was just 47% back in 2018. Now it is 11% higher at 58, and that translates into about 70 million homes. And I've got to tell you, that is going to go higher. I've seen forecasts, I think, from the CTA that say they're expecting 25 million smart TV sales in the US this year. Now, of course, some of those are going in as second TVs or replacing an existing TV, an existing smart TV. But we are for sure going to see another expansion in the number of homes with a smart TV. And with most people that buying them connect them, I expect to see this number jump up again next year. Okay, so we have the number of homes that can, the number of homes that have connected. Now let's figure out how many people are actually using them. Again, Lifeman tells us about 20% of smart TV homes, that's specifically those people that are using their smart TV, are daily users of that device. They use it on a daily basis to stream their content. And again, another big increase, 6% increase over last year. So this really is a big increase. And so that means that today there are 25 million homes with a smart television, and they are using it on a daily basis in the US. Now, how does that compare with traditional broadcast over-the-air television? Which is, I kind of wanted to compare it with over the air because we're also talking about ATSC 3.0 Next Gen TV. Well, Nielsen tells us that there are about 13.4% of TV homes today are using antenna television. So that's 16 million homes. So at least according to these numbers, there are more homes in the US today that are using their smart TV on a daily basis than are watching over the air television. And when we consider ATSC 3.0, this spectacular new technology that's being deployed now in the US throughout the broadcast community, where is that today? Well, practically nobody can receive it today. There are 5 TV models for sale in the US starting at $2,500. So they're all at the upper tier. They're all costing quite a lot. Now that should be better by the end of the year. There should be more TVs that support it that are cheaper. But I would also say there is no standalone ATSC tuner available for this. There is one that you can plug into your PC, but not one that you can really use with your television today. So what does that mean? That means that there are going to be very, very few users by the end of the year, particularly when you bear in mind that although there will be 61 markets in which Next Gen TV is available, that will only be 1 or 2 of the channels. And there is no ATSC 1.0 turn off. That's not suddenly going to go away. People are going to be given plenty of time. So even those people that do provide Next Gen TV services will keep providing ATSC 1.0, the old technology, for at least 5 years. So no great pressure on consumers to take the ATSC 3.0 Next Gen TV. So I got a feeling that by the end of this year, if we see 100,000 users in the US of Next Gen TV, I would be personally very surprised. Okay, so let's talk about virtual linear users. Now, this is a little bit less specific. We have to really believe what the vendors are telling us here. And what they're telling us are that, like Pluto TV, who is probably the most well-known and premier leading vendor in the virtual linear market, they say they have about 26.5 million active users. MAUs is what people typically talk about in this market. And they say they have 26.5, and that's 26.5 devices. They say, Tom Ryan told me that they do not use covering multiples. This is a way of compensating for multiple people watching at once. They don't do that. They just tell you the number of devices, active devices that are watching their TV service. The Roku channel, well, they say they reach 43 million people. They reached 43 million people in Q2 2020. But that may well include a co-viewing multiple. don't know that for sure, but because they say reached, I'm guessing that they're applying some sort of co-viewing multiple. And Zumo says that they have 5.5 million. So just to remind you, so there are 16.2 million over-the-air households. So again, these virtual linear services are saying at least that they're reaching more people than over-the-air does today. And it looks pretty spectacular for growth and for retention, and C19 has really done a great job in sensitizing people to the fact that these services exist. According to an Unruly study, they found that 35% tried an AVOD service since March, of which of course virtual linear is part, and 4 in 5 say that they plan to keep using those services going forward. So takeaway here is that there are millions of people that have been introduced to the existence of virtual linear this year to add to the people that were using it before. So extraordinary growth in that market this year. And finally here, I want to mention the fact that programmers, the TV broadcasters themselves, are not waiting for next-gen TV as a way of enhancing what they're providing to the market. They are actually moving today. Now, Viacom CBS purchased Pluto TV earlier this year. Well, I say purchased. What actually happened was Viacom bought Pluto TV, and then Viacom CBS became one, and Bob Bakish, who was the CEO of Viacom, became CEO of Viacom CBS. So that's how Pluto TV ended up with Viacom CBS. Comcast bought Zumo this year. So there are two people entrenched in the traditional television market that really see virtual linear services as a key way of delivering entertainment services going forward. And programmers also are jumping on this. CBS, well, obviously CBS will be, because they purchased Pluto TV. Endemol Shine, who of course is really big in reality and live type game shows, that type of thing. They have jumped on virtual linear channels in, for example, the Vizio TV. They announced a deal with Vizio where they're providing channels themed around shows. So there is now a no deal channel on Vizio TVs, which you can watch for free, ad supported. And you just tune it in and just start watching virtual linear. And finally, of course, there's live news with NBC News and Fox, as we saw before. And I've got to say that this opportunity is viewed by some programmers as being key. I talked with Kasia Jablonska, who is head of digital monetization at Endemol Shine Group. And one of the things she said to me was, it's a major change in viewing habits, and I think the industry needs to catch up to this. And she actually went one step further. What she said was that they had been looking to monetize things like deal, no deal in syndication and other ways of monetizing. And they found that virtual linear performed better. So in this case, they found that virtual linear really is a good option. Now, I don't want to be knocking next-gen TV. It is a great technology. ATSC 3.0 is a great technology and really does bring broadcasting into the digital age, into the internet age. But I got to say, it will take years to build a sizable audience. And so if you are a broadcaster, you really should think seriously about getting into the smart TVs directly through these free interfaces that deliver virtual linear services. They really do. They're simply the easiest way to watch TV. Plug it in, hook up to Wi-Fi, boom, you're watching television. It provides new monetization opportunities, as Ms. Jablonska indicated, with targeted advertising, which really enhances the advertising value. And I got to tell you, if you have this content, if you have content or you have a channel, this really is a great opportunity to get in now as this market is developing and deliver your content directly to consumers in an advertising supported virtual linear channel. That's it. Thank you for listening. And I don't know if we have time for any questions, Eric.
You know, you just killed it. We're exactly on time. That's fabulous. But I would love to take some questions. We'd love to hear from those of you that are viewing today. Take an opportunity to ask Colin some questions. I have a question, Colin. It seems fairly dismal for ATSC 3.0. I guess that's just, you know, what I'm observing. What does the platform really offer that would be of significant value over like what we have with virtual linear, and why would a broadcaster be looking to use ATSC 3.0?
So I think from the point of view of a broadcaster, it gives a lot more flexibility. So they can provide additional services, like they can provide download services, they can provide enhanced television services, which they couldn't provide before. We really shouldn't be thinking about ATSC 3.0 in the absence of the broadband. We should be considering it as a pair. So it really was architected to work like that, so they can deliver app experiences and all the rest. Now, of course, it works without the broadband, but it just works much better with broadband. One of the biggest things that it does deliver, of course, is 4K. And then there is even a path to 8K television with multi-channel audio. So I don't know about you, but if you want to see the best quality television today, I urge you, put up an aerial, because what you're getting there is very less compressed than what you'll see through paid television services. So if you want to watch your NFL football in the highest quality this fall, put up an aerial. So that's one thing that they can do, is deliver 4K. Now, of course, we do have 4K today online, but this is not, there is no chance that this is going to be ATSC 3.0 4K is going to be interrupted by buffering or any of those other problems. So those are just a few of the benefits. There are many others, both for consumers and for users, but for the broadcasters themselves. But I will say that a lot of those benefits are available now. If you launch on virtual linear, you can do many of the same things that you will be able to do when ATSC 3.0 finally rolls out.
Yeah, we have a question from Jason Peterson, kind of following on what I had said. Why would a consumer subscribe to cable TV when they can subscribe to a virtual MVPD and or a free digital linear option? How will cable TV differentiate?
So, well, that's a really good question. And the short answer, I don't have a good answer to that question. The truth is that the model that has been supporting pay television, we are watching it unravel. I think pretty much everybody, even in the business, accepts that as what's going on now. That model is still broken when you go to virtual MVPDs. We've seen big price increases from them, and this is all being driven, by the way, by the programs themselves, increasing license fees. The interesting part, one of the benefits of ATSC 3.0 is it will allow the broadcasters to launch many, many more channels than they've launched today in the same footprint. And so if you look at what Sinclair is planning on doing, they're planning on launching a bunch of channels in many of the markets that they're active in based on the bandwidth that they already have available, which should greatly increase the variety of stuff available. So I actually think that it could be that standard broadcast television does become a lot more, there is just a lot more content there. But the question is, do people want to watch a lot in that format? One of the things I didn't mention is there is a move towards on-demand viewing, particularly during peak viewing time, where people don't want to be interrupted. They just want to watch the show. So as people transition to digital, we see the amount of live content that they're watching drop pretty dramatically. So I think the market is changing. There is still a strong market for linear, whether it be virtual linear or regular linear, but the market is shifting pretty dramatically. And yeah, I do think that there is the reasons for staying subscribed to a pay TV service, they are lessening on a daily basis.
Yeah, and with the desire to watch content in multiple places, the same shows in multiple places, the same content in one room or in another house or on the bus. It's not enough just to provide it. Well, we've got this great experience in the home. I want to be able to, and so that's even more effort and more work for those platforms to make. They can be done, but it's you've got to get into that space anyway. And if you're already delivering over the top, then you're already delivering over the top. You don't have that platform too. Yeah. Well, terrific. We have. I'd like to take one other question here. There's plenty more, and hopefully we'll have a chance to get together at lunch and also in the luxurious OTT.X lounge later today. Please do join us there. Colin, this is from Devinder Luthra from OTT.X. Hi, Devinder. Hi, Colin. Thanks for sharing these insights. Can you say the smart TV content uptake is likely to also be as strong in Europe? Of course, national broadcasters are much stronger there. Yeah. So
broadly, smart televisions are preferred in Europe. So we are seeing smart TVs. I mean, David, of course, will have better data on this than I do, but I monitor what's going on there pretty closely too. And yes, smart TVs are way more popular in Europe than they are in the US. Actually, the most popular connected TV device is the Fire TV, but even there, the usage is much less. It's smart TVs that are the big thing now. But as David said, take up of virtual linear and those sorts of services is lower in Europe. National broadcasters are still very strong in those markets. However, I will tell you that over-the-air consumption is falling in pretty much all of the markets. And in fact, there are fewer over-the-air users in the UK today than there are OTT users, OTT TV viewers in the UK today. If you go and look at those numbers, I've got a free report on my site on nScreen Media, the TV Universe report, which details that if people want to grab that. So it is a huge growth market in both markets, but smart TVs are bigger in Europe. So I actually think that the virtual linear channels have a great opportunity in that market, but they are in more direct competition there with traditional linear than here in the States, where over the air is just not as nearly as popular, and of course the high premium that pay television puts on virtual linear makes it much less attractive than it is in Europe.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, well, we're gonna close it up for the day, to the conference and for the event. So you close it out, Colin. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you everybody for listening.
Really enjoyed